but with all the talk about Survivor Series and then the return of Saturday night's main event, you may forget that they're moving Raw to Netflix in January. Well, WWE wants to keep this fresh in your mind. They put out a bunch of promo graphics for the first Raw on Netflix, which they announced will be January 6th in the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. The people they are using to promote this first Raw of the new year: John Cena, who is currently not wrestling, but it is his retirement tour; Cody Rhodes, who is not on Raw, he's on SmackDown; Roman Reigns, who is not on Raw, he's on SmackDown; and Bianca Belair, who is not on Raw, she's on SmackDown. This is going to be a huge show if they're just bringing over all the stars from SmackDown to Raw. This is going to be pay-per-view quality. This is enormous. This is not just a Raw that they're doing. They're going all out. It's in the freaking dome. It's in a WrestleMania-sized venue. And it's going to have, it looks like, a WrestleMania-size card, or at least some of the stars, crossing the brands. What say you about this? Is there almost too much riches in WWE at this time, or are you more excited for Raw on Netflix after seeing this kind of hype?
Oh, I mean, this is gigantic, right? The move from regular TV on USA to moving to Netflix, which is the biggest streaming platform, which is the future altogether. Actually, maybe YouTube, the streaming platform we're currently on, is the biggest streaming platform, but I'd also say Netflix is the biggest one that you have to pay for. So I think this is probably bigger than a pay-per-view. As far as the hype for it. So I think you have to pull out the big guns, which they certainly are. John Cena. The three guys make sense. Cena being the legend, or recency bias, but like the recent 10, 15 years of pro wrestling, he's been the big guy. You've got Roman Reigns, was their forever champ that isn't anymore. Cody's the newer of the three in the spotlight. And then Bianca Belair is like I'd say that's interesting. They put Bianca. Maybe Charlotte's not available, because I would think that Charlotte might be the biggest female name I could think of.
She's still nursing an injury. They haven't said she's back yet.
Bianca Belair is definitely deserving, though. She's probably the best worker in the company as far as a woman's concerned. Even man or woman, you could make an argument. Maybe Gunther's better than her, but she's in the top 5, right?
Yeah, she's very good at everything you would want a babyface to do. She sells beautifully. She'll play up an injury, and she'll fight from underneath, even though she's got the power game to be the bully. So yeah, I think these are all good choices. You said you think this is bigger than some pay-per-views. Rank this for us, Dr. John. It's not bigger than WrestleMania, right?
It won't be as big as WrestleMania because it's their big show.
How about SummerSlam? Bigger than SummerSlam?
I'd venture to say this is number 2 over SummerSlam.
Wow, because SummerSlam has not gone to the 2 days of the weekend yet. That's on tap for 2025.
It is bigger, and I'm going to say why.
Okay.
Because it is such a landscaping change for pro wrestling to move to the streaming services, to be live on a streaming service. We're going to see AEW do it as well on HBO Max, but it's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting to see what is a Netflix live show look like, because the Jake Paul Tyson was a bit of a disaster. Was a disaster, really.
Yes.
They're going to have the NFL on Netflix, and I don't know. I think it's going to just be one of those. It has a big feeling to it that a lot of normal people will be tuning in. A lot of people that don't watch wrestling will be watching this more so than SummerSlam.
And that makes it that's a very WrestleMania thing, isn't it? Like they always plan WrestleMania to attract people that usually don't tune in for premium live events, who usually wouldn't buy a pay-per-view. So yeah, this Raw has that feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's going to be like Kevin Hart's in this crowd. Then it's going to be like LeBron James is in the crowd. Like what they did. The Eagles just played the LA Rams, and they have like their cast of people that they have in LA that are out there. Like
There's going to
Kevin
be all sorts
Hart,
of
LeBron
plants, right?
James, all the celebrity plants will be out there, but that'll bring eyeballs to the Monday Night Raw. So
This is usually your line, but I think that's going to be an edited clip there. You
yeah,
ranking this almost right up there with a WrestleMania, bigger than any other pay-per-view WWE does than a WrestleMania because of the landscape changing factors that are in play here.
yeah.
I like that. You heard it here first on Don't Bury the Lead.
Dom, because it's an edited clip, add as much in as you want. So when I edit it, we'll put it together. But yeah, I'll gladly I think it's a good idea. That's a good edited clip. Let's go with it.
I have nothing to add that you haven't said. I just wanted to punctuate it there. Yeah, the analysis was all yours, Dr. John. I like it. Moving on, speaking of WrestleMania, huge developments for WrestleMania 41. Reports are we've all heard the rumors about the triple threat match between Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and The Rock. But as you alluded to, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight ended with Logan Paul and Mike Tyson getting into a war of words. We have a short video out about that. Find us on the YouTube channel. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel. Look for that. The highly anticipated boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson ended with Paul securing a unanimous victory. After the match, Tyson called out Logan Paul during a post-fight interview. Logan Paul fired back with a surprising comment stating, "Bad word, I'll kill you, Mike." WWE is interested in incorporating a segment between Logan Paul and Mike Tyson at WrestleMania 41. There is confirmed interest in making this happen. Do you want to see something involving Mike Tyson and Logan Paul happen, knowing that Mike Tyson was the guy at WrestleMania who turned the tide of the Monday Night Wars 25 years ago?
Yeah, I wonder if I like Tyson a lot. Everyone really seems to like Tyson a lot. And it would be, at the end of the day, I think it's like wink wink nod nod. The Pauls hate Tyson, but I think they both like money and they both like the attention they're getting from it. So I think it'd be a good addition and probably something that I almost feel like that has to happen, right?
At this point, especially since we are talking about it in WWE, watches Don't Bury the Lead. At this point, it almost has to happen. WrestleMania has always embraced celebrity appearances. Yes, it has. This would be a good one. Logan Paul, besides cursing on live streaming TV at a 58-year-old man who had just fought a boxing match, he's doing other things like sending out a troll lookalike to do an interview for him.
Yeah.
The interview was meant to be part of a documentary called Logan Paul Bad Influence. Is this a good move by Logan Paul? I mean, they're basically casting him to be a heel in this documentary. So is it leaning into it to send out a lookalike to do your interview and just kind of blow them off?
I am not a huge fan of Logan Paul as the person, but this is great. This this is if the BBC is doing some investigative report, which is probably like a quarter of what CoffeeZilla can provide. You know what I mean? Like CoffeeZilla has already done it. He's just like, yeah, sure, send this guy this lookalike. Because the funny thing about the lookalike is it doesn't look like him that much at all. Like it's just a guy with blonde hair. It doesn't really look like Logan Paul.
It's really not.
Right. So he shows up. It's like, yeah, you're not Logan Paul. You don't really even look like him. So that's even like another aspect where like that's funny. It's like this guy that kind of looks like Logan Paul says he's there. So I have to give the devil his due. I thought this was funny.
So rather than defend himself against the allegation we've been investigating, Logan decided to troll us. It's a heel move, but Logan Paul is a heel, right? I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I almost want to send out this same guy to do "Don't Bury the Lead" for me.
Right.
Just put him in a snazzy looking sport coat there, and this guy could be me. You know, you
Totally.
and you'd be there like, Dom, that's not you. And
if this guy,
like, what do you mean it's not me? It's me. Don't bury the lead.
If he put on a tan suit and cut his hair short and was brown, it'd be as much of a lookalike to you as this guy is to Logan Paul. You know, it's not like lookalike.
He doesn't even have to cut the hair and turn it brown. It's just like, leave it.
Right.
There you are. It's me. Don't even shave the beard. There you go. It's my doppelganger.
I love that he calls him his doppelganger. It barely
Right?
looks like him.
We mentioned a potential triple threat match at WrestleMania featuring The Rock. Dwayne Johnson makes a rare appearance with all three of his daughters at a Moana 2 Hawaii premiere. Great stuff. The Rock is a huge movie star. In case you forgot, he is a huge, huge pop culture star. He's here. One picture with his daughter Simone, who is 23, whom he shares with ex-wife Danny Garcia. And then Jasmine and Tiana are there with his current wife Hashian. And I believe that's perhaps his mother, who was also there. Yes, his wife Lauren Hashian was there. His mom Ata, and all three of his daughters came out for this. Of course, it's big news if People Magazine has it. It's big news in pop culture if People Magazine is covering it. Great stuff. There are also apparently some dance moves going on, but great to see everybody out there. Moana 2, big movie, lots of hype for it. Moana 1 was very well received. So great news for The Rock. We also have another fun Rock item here. The Rock names his 4 WWE superstars on his Mount Rushmore. So we love these. People like lists, right? People like to count. Mount Rushmore has become a good cliche. It's kind of a good meme. Like, everybody knows what a Mount Rushmore means. It's like your top 4 of all time. You know, it's your Mount Rushmore of classic rock bands. It's the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and the Who. You know, from the British Invasion era. You know, the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers. The Rock. This comes to us from Sport Bible. The Rock names 4 WWE superstars on his Mount Rushmore. The Undertaker fails to make the cut. Of course, The Undertaker was part of that great WrestleMania 40 main event where he took care of The Rock, who had come out to take care of Cody Rhodes on behalf of his cousin Roman Reigns. And then it was The Undertaker finishing off The Rock and eventually leading to the final sequence where Cody Rhodes wins it. Let's see who's in The Rock's Mount Rushmore. He names not The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and I would have to go with Andre the Giant. Tough to argue with those 4. Classic people do. Nobody from the last, say, 25 years of being in the main spotlight. So not an Undertaker who spent a lot of the last 25 years main eventing WrestleManias, even when he couldn't do a full-time schedule. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's sort of been out of action since the early 2000s with his neck injury. So the Rock's Mount Rushmore is back into the 70s, 80s, 90s era. Sort of that ballooning of pro wrestling in the pop culture mind again. That was the previous golden age as opposed to the current one. Any argument with these four?
I think it's a great one.
Right.
I mean, that might be the best one I've seen that they put together.
Yeah.
That's every decade. That's the biggest guys.
Mhm.
Andre is his own special beast that almost always has to be on the list.
Yep.
Hogan's the biggest wrestler ever. You can either flip Stone Cold. Stone Cold was iconic when he was out there, the Nature Boy, for the longevity too,
Mhm.
and so much that he did in the 70s, 80s, really the 80s. But that is a great list, and I think it wasn't a slight against Undertaker
No.
for leaving him off, and not like a worked thing. It wasn't like a work thing where he's like, "Oh, I'll leave the Undertaker off,"
Mhm.
because Stone Cold Steve Austin was supposed to be the guy in that WrestleMania, and
Really?
yeah, so it was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, Glass hits, and he goes after The Rock because those two had the big rivalry. So
Yes.
Undertaker's very random, right?
Yes.
But Stone Cold wouldn't do it, so they got the Undertaker. He's going to be there. He's Mr. Reliable, and I think it went over just as well. Like that.
I thought it went over better because the visual of Stone Cold Steve Austin is the glass breaks and he stomps out to the ring, which would take him an hour and a half because it's WrestleMania and the Ram's too long.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the visual was better. The lights going out and there's the Undertaker in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it worked better. So that was nothing against Stone Cold Steve Austin, but that may have been a happy accident. I thought that was a better finish to the match with the visual, the lights going out, and then the Undertaker being in the ring.
Couldn't go wrong with either of them. It's such a great moment. But yeah. So it was supposed to be Stone Cold. It was the Undertaker. But this list, there's no complaints at all from me, and this is a great one by The Rock.
I like it. The Rock knows what's up. And you could have said, well, is he just putting his buddies in there? And I mean, yeah, he had a long rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin that basically made him what he is. He had that fantastic Generations main event at WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan. So yeah, he's putting some of his own boys in there, but his own boys are legends.
Think about Hulk Hogan's career. Now that you're talking about that, he's the biggest WWF at the time superstar in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the 90s, when he's starting to get a little stale, he moves to WCW. He goes to WCW, gets the initial pop, but like people are getting bored with him. He goes Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
You can make an argument the greatest heel ever. Like seriously, he's
greatest heel turn ever.
Greatest heel turn ever, and the NWO was awesome for that time. The NWO starts to go stale. He goes back to WWE, and when he goes back to WWE, he wrestles in the WrestleMania main event against The Rock in what is this 2000,
and gets cheered.
And gets cheered like
he
crazy.
Was supposed to be the heel, and the crowd cheered for Hogan when he hulked up.
They were saying Rocky sucks, which is like the old Rock chant for him sucking. You know, amazing. I mean, just what a career for Hulk Hogan. So yeah, he's obviously got to be on the list.
There you go. I love it. Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, who's in your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers. Any era, all the eras, whoever you want. You tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. Leave us your thoughts. We do like reading your thoughts. And hey, we know that people like lists. People like to count. So count to 4 for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, like the Nature Boy, who is on the Rock's Mount Rushmore. I love it. Back to WrestleZone. Nick Aldis emphasizing on an episode of Insight with Chris Van Vliet that he not only has a backstage contract with WWE as a producer, he's got a talent contract, so maybe his in-ring days are not over. Would you like to see Nick Aldis lace him up for a match?
I never really caught any of his stuff. But I know he was over in NWA. Was that?
Yes.
Was that Power
Cody
Hour?
Rhodes, a great feud.
Yeah. Hey, he kind of made Cody the big star he is today.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see it though. I'd be very interested. I know a lot of the guys on Power Hour there were good, and I like that show too. I don't know if you ever watched it, the
NWA
NWA
Power,
Power
yeah,
Hour.
when Billy Corgan brought it back, yeah.
When they did that and it was free on YouTube, I thought it was a really good idea.
Yep. LA Knight was on there as Eli Drake. Yeah, I think the Nick Aldis Cody Rhodes feud was enormously important to Cody Rhodes because when he left the WWE, he needed to do something that was big. And before he could start, AEW, he had to do something that was big. And getting into this 10 pounds of gold thing with Nick Aldis over the NWA's World Heavyweight Championship, that was enormously important for Cody Rhodes and for establishing that, people forget at that time WWE was the A promotion and everybody else was like a D list. There was no B list promotion. There wasn't even a C list promotion. So for Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes to do a great, great program, battling back and forth and trading the belt in a great series of matches, I thought that was very important for Cody. It became enormously important for them doing that indie show that they did that eventually led to AEW's formation. These guys made wrestling history in more ways than one. And Nick Aldis is about the same age as Cody Rhodes. So if you're looking at Cody Rhodes, you're looking at LA Knight, you're looking at CM Punk and saying, yeah, these guys can still wrestle. Nick Aldis can still wrestle.
Yeah.
He looks, by the way, he fills out the suit that he's kept himself in shape.
Yeah, he's gigantic, Nick Aldis.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've always thought is he's an interesting choice for the general manager because he's so big. He's so big next to the wrestlers. Sometimes they like to bring smaller people in so the wrestlers look bigger, but he's as big as all the wrestlers.
He's no Teddy Long or Vicky Guerrero.
No. He is not Vicky. He's not Teddy Long. No.
He's the guy who can shove a wrestler out of the way and it seems legit.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yes, your GM, your boss could maybe kick your ass.
Right.
5-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Adam Pearce, who is still in his 40s also. He can do the same thing over on Raw. Yeah, I'd like to see Nick Aldis lace him up again. He doesn't have to do it as a regular thing, but if he's got one more match in him, I'll take a Nick Aldis match.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you think. Do you think Nick Aldis, yay, nay, you want to see him in the ring, or nah, he's good at the GM?
Speaking of people we want to see in the ring, this is from WrestleZone also. Mercedes Monet working out with Indy Hartwell and Harley Cameron here. Harley Cameron, I guess she's been in AEW for a while. Is she out of the picture but trying to get back into it? I do know Indy Hartwell was released by WWE at the end of September when it looked like she and Candice LeRae were going to be involved in a pretty good program. Good to see that she has some prospects already getting back in there with Mercedes Monet, who is wearing a Bayley t-shirt.
Yep. Mercedes Monet on the heels of an excellent match with her on from the AEW pay-per-view was Mercedes Monet versus
was it Chris Statlander?
Chris Statlander. Yes.
Okay, and that was a great match, you're saying?
Excellent. Probably I only watched the first half of the pay-per-view, but probably it feels like that's probably going to be the match of the night. There was a match on after it, and the match was good, but there was like no heat from the crowd. They were tired from the Mercedes Monet Chris Statlander match. It was very good. So kudos to Mercedes because I think she's been getting a little bit of heat online that she was a waste at AEW, and she put on a banger.
Good.
With Chris Statlander. And it's interesting that I like all the wrestlers for different companies posting together. And also, it's good for them to develop that relationship so they can be like, hey, how are things over there? Oh, it's like this. They're paying this. Or you don't want to come here. It sucks. Like that's good that they're doing that, which gives them some more leeway in negotiations, right?
Yeah, and it shows that there's a professional class of high-level pro wrestlers that's not limited to one promotion, and they're not, they're not just trying to play into the tribalism of it so much. Like, we don't need that. It's 2024.
It's so cool that the companies, as they switched between different companies and they could do different things. As a fan, there's not much more you can ask for.
Indy Hartwell, she looks like she's in really good shape. She's tall. I mean, would you like to see her in AEW? You think she'd be a good addition to that roster?
I don't know anything about Indy Hartwell. To be honest with you, I have not seen her wrestle. I don't watch NXT. She had a very limited time on the main roster.
Yep.
If there is a place that needs female talent, it is AEW over WWE. Okay. WWE is totally stacked. Yep. So if she can put some stuff together, develop herself, and she'd be if she's a good wrestler for real, then she's going to be a big addition for AEW if she does go there.
I don't know if you remember this, but it was Elimination Chamber in Australia. Indy Hartwell is from Australia. She was not part of the main show, but they gave her a pre-show match just to get her out there in front of the home country. And she performed pretty well there and got the hero's welcome returning to Australia. So that was...
right. She did get a match in Australia.
And I think she's wrestled the few times they gave her and Candice LeRae some sort of time on the primetime shows to wrestle. I thought she was serviceable. I mean, she looks the part. She's muscular. She's in shape. She's tall. She's got a lot of the Charlotte Flair look to her. Maybe even a little bit more in the upper body. Maybe broader shoulders.
Now that you mention that, Dom, AEW has a huge show in Australia coming up. I think
better get her signed.
I think instead of doing their big show All In, they did 2 years in a row in London. This year they're going to do it in Australia.
Okay.
So that's their WrestleMania. So they might sign her just for that.
Hey, good for her. Pick up the payday and show what you can do. You never know what happens if you get that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Back to WrestleZone. Bobby Lashley talking about his decision to sign with AEW. And some of it was Tony Khan, that when he finally heard about Tony Khan, that he was a pretty all right guy. But also, Tony Khan is supposedly giving him some leeway. If he wants to tackle that fight, do another fight, whether it's boxing, bare knuckles, MIA, I think he'll give me the opportunity to. And then all my other projects I've been working on. This was a big part of Bobby Lashley, why he enjoyed being in Impact Wrestling, because it allowed him to do Bellator, where he found a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great record in Bellator. It was something like 15-2 or something, 14-2. And Impact Wrestling allowed him to do that while also doing pro wrestling. If Tony Khan is willing to let him do that, because he lets guys take indie dates in other pro wrestling promotions, maybe he'll also let him take an MMA or a boxing or something else like that. Do you think at his age that Bobby Lashley maybe biting off a little more than he can chew, or is this a good sign that maybe he's at least got the freedom to explore it if he wants to?
It's good he has the freedom. Maybe they would match him up appropriately with, he can't go to the UFC and challenge the heavyweight title.
No. But
if he does some lower card MMA that are just happy to have him, maybe he could go beat up on some jobbers. I don't know. If he still wants to do it, he can go for it. He must still have that fire in him where he wants to keep doing stuff like that, where he wants to compete, rather than pro wrestle too. Because it feels like when he probably loves pro wrestling, but like his passion is MMA, right?
Well, he's also talking here about how he does have some passion for pro wrestling, and he was disappointed. There are certain ways I want to go out, and I didn't get an opportunity to go out the way that I wanted to with putting those guys over. He wanted to put over guys on his way out.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to have a good end there, and he didn't get to do that in WWE. So I think it's, if he just wanted to do MMA, he'd just sign with MMA. I think he signed with AEW because he still wants to wrestle.
Yeah.
because ultimately we are a group that's good for the company, talking about the Hurt business with now called the Hurt Syndicate in AEW with MVP and Shelton Benjamin there. And perhaps others joining them, but he seems like he still wants to do pro wrestling and has some things that he wants to do. He wants to have fun and help others. So it looks like he's a veteran presence who wants to give back to the business, and I think that's a good sign. And AEW can only benefit from a guy like that, right? He doesn't look like he's going to be a guy who's going to come in here and demand to be top of the card and wear the belt.
Yeah, if he's going to be letting people get over, what a better guy than Bobby Lashley, who, and it is sort of funny, he's having the same thing he had in WWE because he's part of the Hurt Syndicate and he's supposed to be a heel, but everybody's cheering him because they love Bobby Lashley. So
they should have learned. They should have learned. Look, man, once you bring in Bobby Lashley, people want to cheer. He looks like a cyborg, for crying out loud.
No, there's some guys I think that really need some help getting put over and getting put into programs, and he'd be a perfect guy for it. It's a bunch of young guys that are up and coming. So
okay,
I mean, that's
any you have in mind. I mean, if the man with 3 H's watches Don't Bury the Lead, perhaps Tony Khan watches Don't Bury the Lead. Any advice you could give to Tony Khan in that regard?
One guy comes to mind for me.
Okay.
I want to see how old he is, so I'm not out of pocket here. Okay, no, he's not too old. Brian Cage.
Okay, I've heard his name. Tell me about him. I don't know much about him.
He is a giant, juiced up dude who is currently like the Ring of Honor TV title.
Okay.
So he's got like a title that doesn't really matter because it's like one of the Ring of Honor titles. But I would love to see just two huge dudes just have a big hoss match. Like Brian Cage is about the size of Lashley.
All right. That might be a fun thing. That sounds like an old Vince McMahon main event of a pay-per-view.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking. Do the big hoss Vince match.
Very good. Speaking of people who didn't like the way they went out, Becky Lynch on a short interview clip here when people were pressing her, are you coming back? Are you coming back to wrestling? What are you doing? Because we haven't heard a lot about her contract status. This comes to us from Vulture is the channel here, the interviewer. She kept mentioning, you really think I want my last match to be getting a cage door slammed in my face by Dirty Dominic Mysterio? So Becky Lynch looks like she wants back in the ring, if for no other reason than that's not the way she wanted to go out. Would you be pleased if Becky Lynch came back healthy, of course, had enough time off to heal up? Would you be glad to see Becky Lynch back in here? I'm not saying does the WWE absolutely need Becky Lynch, but would you like to see her?
She did the right thing, which was to go away for a while.
Yep.
And I think she's been away for a while. The longer she's away, the better it's going to be. If she came out tomorrow, that would be okay. She's here. I guess Royal Rumble's around the corner, so maybe she is a participant in the Rumble. That would be really cool. And to bring her
is that a cool surprise if her music hits for the Royal Rumble?
Oh yeah, I think that's probably got to be the way you would do it at this point if she comes back.
All right.
Recently, and I think I wonder what she was alluding to when she was leaving, and it seemed like she might be retiring, but no, I guess she's just teasing retiring.
Okay, very good. Let's go to some controversy now. CM Punk. This comes to us from comingsoon.net. You mentioned CM Punk, and can he not get distracted by other things now that he's in the A storyline in the WWE? CM Punk makes a bold statement amid his absence. This was published before he made his appearance at SmackDown on the 22nd. He was talking about his AEW days because, whether it's people bringing this up to him or him bringing it up just because he doesn't know how to either avoid it himself or shut it down when somebody else brings it up. And he made the quote here, I feel like I wasted some matches on some people for sure. That is what it is. Some people understand the business and some people don't. I think everybody here, meaning WWE, understands the business. He's still talking about AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Is it getting old? Was it already old? Does this help him at all? Who does this help if it helps anybody?
Nobody.
You could
It
say no
only
one if it helps no one.
it helps no one. It only hurts him.
Okay.
Because he looks like a score. He looks like a guy that got divorced or dumped, and he keeps talking about the girl that dumped him rather than moving on. Um, Also, his asinine comments about how like Tony Khan doesn't know how to run a business. I did want to point those out because
Mm.
he basically says Tony Khan doesn't know anything about the business or how to run it. Blah 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 blah. He's just a nice guy. The AEW has signed a $150 million a year contract with HBO, and in the past they were making 35 million when he was there. So they have nearly times five times the amount in their TV contract annually from when he was on the roster to when they fired him and then they got the new deal.
Mm.
So I think that CM Punk probably needs to look at the numbers and understand what a business is to say
Mhm.
before he starts talking about business. Because if you're talking about a business, yeah, they're quite profitable and they've made five times the amount in revenue from the TV contract since you left. So guess what? You know, if you really want to go down that road, that the numbers don't lie, right?
CM Punk went to
Tell me when
AEW
I'm
after
telling
other.
lies.
I
Tell
I
me
don't
when I'm
think.
telling lies. That's CM Punk's line. Tell me
Oh,
when I'm
that's his
telling
line.
lies. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Okay, well, tell me if I'm telling a lie. When CM Punk finally decided to go to AEW, AEW had already pretty well established itself. He was basically riding. He didn't build that place like Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho did.
No,
So he shows up when that's already hot, and then he goes back to WWE when WWE is hotter than it's ever been.
exactly. He just jumped on the two promotions in their hottest times creatively and has ridden the wave as a worker. So, and that's a good idea to do that too.
Sure.
Don't think he's really helping himself here with running his mouth.
All right. Other controversial things. Linda McMahon tapped to be the Secretary of Education in the upcoming Trump administration. Um, she had served in the Small Business Administration at the federal level during the first Trump term in office. She's also run for Senate unsuccessfully more than once in her home state of Connecticut. Um, Not only was she tapped for Secretary of Education, but rumors are that there is a separation, and Linda McMahon seemed to confirm this. She and Vince McMahon have separated amid Vince McMahon's ongoing legal battles that threaten to drag Linda into it. Um, there's more than one lawsuit going on with Vince McMahon, and Linda was named because she was a worker in WWE, an employee of WWE, or at least a co-owner with Vince for a portion of what was happening. Linda McMahon, surrounded by controversy, whether or not she personally deserves it. It seems to follow her because of the last name, because of the family ties. What say you about what's going on with Linda McMahon here? I'm not trying to do an endorsement of was she going to be a good Secretary of Education? Not. Is Trump going to be a good? Is Trump going to be bad? I don't want to go there. What make you of Linda McMahon just being back in the spotlight and the controversy following her around?
Good for her. She's had a tough couple years here
Mm-hmm.
with all the stuff going public. I mean, she must have known or understood some extent this to some extent. I know they've been on the rocks, they've been separated or whatever, or they've had issues in the past, and good for her that she doesn't just have to be the woman that gets divorced and then just waits it on out. And she's got a massive role in the government. She's been popular by both parties for the most part. Linda has been liked by Democrats and Republicans, which is like an insane thing, but it's true. Um, yeah, I think it's good that she's involved, and She's already had some experience in the small business, which is kind of ironic that he tagged her as his small business administrator, even though all she did was swallow up small businesses to make one giant business. But it's good that she's getting her name out there and still living her life and at a high level, right?
Swerve! The Small Business Administration head is someone who swallowed up small businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, this one she might be more fit for because
Was Vince Russo booking those cabinet appointments in the first Trump administration?
I know. It's Russo.